Ever seen someone's life turn upside down in a matter of seconds? You won't believe what happens when a woman insults a black waiter. Stay tuned. Welcome to today's story. Imagine this. A woman filled with prejudice insults a black waiter. What she doesn't know is that her life is about to change dramatically, and not in a good way. Meet Marcus, a young black man in his early 30s, working as a waiter in a high-end restaurant in the bustling heart of the city. Marcus is known for his warm smile, polite demeanor, and exceptional service, earning him the admiration of both his colleagues and the regular patrons. With his impeccable attention to detail and genuine care for his customers, Marcus ensures that every dining experience is memorable and pleasant. Marcus's passion for his job is evident in the way he greets every guest with a heartfelt smile and goes the extra mile to cater to their needs. His colleagues often commend him for his ability to handle the most challenging customers with grace and patience. Marcus has worked hard to build a reputation for himself in the restaurant industry, and he takes immense pride in the positive feedback he receives. However, despite his professionalism and dedication, Marcus's days are not always smooth sailing. Beneath his unwavering smile lies the heavy burden of dealing with racism, a challenge he faces more often than he should. It is not uncommon for Marcus to encounter subtle acts of racism from customers who harbor prejudices against him simply because of the color of his skin. These acts of racism come in various forms, sometimes overt, but often insidiously subtle. There are those who refuse to make eye contact with him, speaking to him in curt tones, as if his presence is an inconvenience. Some customers leave notes on their bills, thanking the restaurant for the food, but expressing dissatisfaction with the service, despite Marcus's exceptional efforts. Even more disheartening are the customers who make their biases glaringly obvious. They question his competence, demand to speak to someone in charge, or refuse to allow him to take their orders, insisting on another waiter instead. Each of these incidents is a painful reminder of the societal prejudices that persist. Marcus handles these situations with remarkable resilience and composure. He has learned to navigate the delicate balance between maintaining his dignity and providing top-notch service, even when faced with blatant discrimination. But each act of racism, whether subtle or explicit, leaves a scar chipping away at his spirit. On one particularly busy evening, the restaurant was filled with the usual buzz of patrons enjoying their meals. Marcus was assigned to wait on a table of 4, where he encountered a woman named Karen. Karen, a well-dressed woman in her late 40s, walked into the restaurant with an air of superiority that was hard to miss. From the moment she sat down, it was clear she was not pleased with anything. She complained about the seating arrangement, the lighting, and even the menu options, making her dissatisfaction known to everyone around. Language and facial expressions screamed disapproval. "Are you even qualified to be working here?" she sneered, her voice dripping with contempt. Marcus, maintaining his professionalism, assured her he was and asked if he could take her order. Karen scoffed and said, "I don't know how someone like you got hired here. You should be grateful I'm even letting you serve me." The other patrons at the table, including Karen's husband John and their friends Lisa and Mike, shifted uncomfortably, clearly embarrassed by her behavior. Marcus, keeping his composure, took their orders and walked back to the kitchen. He had faced similar situations before, but it never got easier. Every insult, every demeaning comment chipped away at his spirit, a constant reminder of the prejudice he has to endure. He tried to focus on the positive aspects of his job, the support of colleagues, the appreciative customers, and the satisfaction of a job well done. But the weight of racism was a heavy burden to bear. As the evening went on, Karen's behavior became more erratic and disruptive. She complained loudly about every aspect of her dining experience. The food was too cold, the service was too slow, and she even found fault with Marcus's appearance, making derogatory remarks about his uniform. Her voice carried across the dining room, drawing the attention of other patrons who whispered among themselves and watched the unfolding drama with a mixture of shock and disbelief. It was as if Karen thrived on the negative attention, hoping to humiliate Marcus in front of everyone. The restaurant's manager, Mr. Thompson, had been observing the situation from a distance. He knew Marcus well and was aware of his exceptional service and dedication. Concerned about the escalating situation, he approached Karen's table and asked if there was a problem he could help resolve. Karen, with a smug expression, pointed directly at Marcus. "This man is incompetent. He doesn't deserve to work here. You should fire him," she declared, her voice laced with venom. Mr. Thompson, taken aback by her blatant racism and the audacity of her demands, calmly replied, "Marcus is one of our best employees. His service is exemplary, and your behavior is unacceptable." His words were firm but polite, a testament to his commitment to fairness and justice. Karen, not used to being challenged, became even more irate. Her face turned red with anger, and she stood up abruptly, knocking over her chair with a loud clatter. She shouted, "You people are all the same. You don't belong here. I will make sure you never work in this city again." Her voice echoed through the restaurant, silencing the chatter and drawing all eyes to her. By this point, the entire restaurant was watching the scene unfold. Some patrons discreetly pulled out their phones, recording the outburst. Others whispered among themselves, their faces a mix of shock and disapproval. Marcus, standing there with a tray in his hand, felt a mix of anger, humiliation, and sadness. But he knew he had to stay calm. The manager once again asked Karen to leave the premises, but she refused, causing an even bigger scene. The police were eventually called to escort her out of the restaurant. As the officers arrived and approached her table, Karen continued to protest loudly, making a scene that would not soon be forgotten. "This is outrageous! You can't treat me like this!" she yelled, but her words fell on deaf ears. The police calmly explained that her behavior was unacceptable and that she needed to leave immediately. Reluctantly, and with much grumbling, Karen was finally escorted out of the restaurant. The atmosphere in the restaurant gradually began to return to normal, but the impact of Karen's outburst lingered. Patrons discussed the incident in hushed tones, and many approached Marcus to offer words of support and encouragement. Marcus, though shaken by the experience, was grateful for the solidarity shown by the customers and his colleagues. He knew that this was not the end of the ordeal, but he remained steadfast in his resolve to handle the situation with dignity and grace. As Karen was being led out by the police, she couldn't resist one final act of malice. She turned to Marcus, her face twisted with rage and spite, and spat out, "You'll never amount to anything. You're worthless." Her voice was loud enough to echo throughout the restaurant, each word dripping with venom. The restaurant fell silent, the weight of her words hanging heavily in the air. Diners paused mid-conversation, waitstaff froze in their tracks, and even the clinking of cutlery ceased as everyone turned their attention to Marcus. Marcus, standing there with the tray still in his hand, felt a rush of emotions flood through him. Anger, sadness, and a deep sense of injustice welled up inside him. But above all, he felt a surge of determination. He knew that he could not let her words break him. Taking a deep breath, Marcus straightened his back, looked Karen squarely in the eyes, and responded with a calm yet firm voice, "I'm not worthless. Your words can't define me." His dignified response hung in the air, a powerful counter to Karen's hateful remark. The room remained silent for a moment longer, then erupted in applause. Patrons clapped and cheered, not just for Marcus's composed and courageous stand, but also as a rejection of Karen's bigotry. The sense of solidarity was palpable. Unbeknownst to Karen, many diners had been recording the entire incident on their phones. The videos quickly made their way onto social media platforms, and within hours, they had gone viral. People from all over the world saw how Karen treated Marcus and were outraged. The footage showed the raw ugliness of her racism, contrasted starkly with Marcus's calm dignity. Social media was flooded with messages of support for Marcus. Hashtags like UD, Stand with Marcus, and Akrit, Justice for Marcus, began trending. Celebrities, activists, and ordinary people alike shared their outrage and solidarity, calling for Karen to be held accountable for her actions. The restaurant also released a public statement, defending Marcus and condemning Karen's behavior unequivocally. They praised Marcus for his professionalism and resilience and assured the public that such behavior would not be tolerated. As the backlash grew, the incident caught the attention of Karen's employer. Karen held a high-profile position in a reputable company, and the negative publicity was something they could not afford. The employer, Mr. White, launched an immediate investigation into the incident. They reviewed the viral videos, which clearly showed Karen's unacceptable behavior. It didn't take long for them to conclude that her actions violated their code of conduct and company values. Within days, Karen was called into a meeting with the HR department. She walked in with an air of defiance, still not fully grasping the gravity of her actions. However, as the HR manager played the video of her outburst and outlined the repercussions, Karen's confidence began to waver. She was informed that her behavior had brought disrepute to the company and was in direct violation of their ethical standards. With a heavy tone, the HR manager delivered the final blow. "Karen, we are terminating your employment effective immediately." Karen's face paled, and for the first time she appeared truly shaken. The very act of trying to humiliate Marcus had led to her own downfall. The irony was not lost on the public or the media. As news of her firing spread, it became a topic of widespread discussion. People saw it as a fitting example of karma, a reminder that actions have consequences, and that hate and prejudice ultimately lead to one's own undoing. Meanwhile, Marcus continued to receive an outpouring of support. The community rallied around him, and he was invited to speak at various events about his experience and the importance of standing up against racism. His story inspired many and served as a catalyst for conversations about racial equality and justice. Karen, on the other hand, found herself facing the repercussions of her actions. She struggled to find new employment as the viral video had tarnished her reputation. It was a stark reminder that hate and bigotry have no place in society, and those who harbor such views will be held accountable. Subscribe for more stories that inspire change.